Ninjago, by far one of the most iconic original LEGO themes to exist. Every single year for the past 15 years, Ninjago has been a staple of LEGO's identity. They have released hundreds upon hundreds of Ninjago sets, a lot of them having an insane budget set aside for just to be able to make such grandiose mechs. Today I'm going to be talking about why Ninjago should end. And no, it's not just because it's boring or anything subjective. But let's go on into the video. Okay, now let's set things straight. I think that Ninjago is not a bad theme, but instead it has been going on for way too long. It is almost 100 hours of total watch time just to catch up to where the show is. And that's really bad, since it forces kids to have to watch the seasons from the start. And let's just say that a little kid gets to watch Ninjago for 20 minutes each day. At that rate, it would take almost a year just to catch up, and most kids will not watch the show for 1 year straight. That means that basically no new kids will watch the show, so slowly and surely, the show will continue to die even more. Right now, Ninjago got a massive influx of new fans, hence why the prices of OG minifigures just went up a lot. And again, the new fans are not little kids. They are older fans who have recently come back to feel a bit of nostalgia, since they watched Masters of Spinjitzu in the earlier seasons when they were a kid. That means that basically very few kids are coming to Ninjago, resulting in the show having less and less sales every year from the kids, who are literally the target audience. Now this is a problem, since that will mean that eventually LEGO will stop making kid-oriented playsets that kids can actually afford, which is quickly becoming less and less every single year, and will make more and more large-scale sets, making the fewer kids who remain either go broke or only manage to buy 2 or 3 sets at max, resulting in both a slump of sales for LEGO and kids to have less of an interest in the show, which the show is what makes these sets actually sell. And that means that if the show becomes too long and unless kids will actually reach the point where they finish the show and get caught up to date, and even if they do catch up, they can slowly start losing interest in the show, since they have watched so much they kind of just feel full of the ninjas. That means that if less and less kids watch the show since it becomes longer, then LEGO will make larger adult-oriented sets from basically banking on their sense of nostalgia, which is not infinite, resulting in more and more people detaching from the show, and LEGO will realistically try their best to let it survive, but it won't be enough since kids can't catch up, and they've already banked on nostalgia, resulting in LEGO bleeding a whole bunch of money, which is obviously not good. However, I feel like LEGO can easily solve this issue. All they have to do is basically just restart the entire show. That way, kids will be able to understand everything that is happening and will not be confused at all. Or they could release a little mini-series on the side that just quickly explains everything that happened up until Dragons Rising Season 1, so kids can very quickly catch up without having to spend a full year watching the same show just to catch up. Now, this is obviously bad, because it's not my only reason. Additionally, let's talk about the sets. I won't talk about the beautiful large-scale cities, since those aren't my problem, but rather it's the dragons, mechs, and cars. We have gone probably over 100 dragons and 100 mechs and 100 cars. Now, I have a problem with all dragons, not just Ninjago dragons, but all dragons, but it really happens here a lot since we are in Dragons Rising. Okay, let's say that this kid has watched the over 20 seasons and is finally caught up to the main show and is in Dragons Rising and wants to buy one of the dragons, like Rontu and Egalt, and he buys it and builds it, and now he wants to play with it. He sets it down to go grab his minifigure, but it falls. He picks it up and sets it down again, and it falls again. Only after what feels like forever finicking with its legs does it barely stand up. It's honestly so annoying since it's practically impossible for it to stand up. Additionally, you've only built one dragon, and you've basically built most of the dragons, since they're all like only 2 or 3 different types. I feel like it's all really badly designed and kind of needs a new design in general. That's my main nitpick about the dragons, but let's talk about the mechs and the cars. The mechs, I feel like for the most part, you only need at maximum 1 or 2 mechs for each character. And definitely no kids who are like 7 or 8 can afford 5 $100 mechs. In fact, I don't think that really that many little kids can be able to afford one of the mechs, because $100 is a lot. Also, the mechs do also suffer the same problem that the dragons do, since they are also kind of hard to stand up, but much less than the dragons. But it is still annoying. But let's talk about the cars. The cars is one of the few categories that I understand is in this theme, but I don't think it's that necessary to have so many different cars. All you need is 7 or 8 cars at max being sold at any point in time, which is already a lot, since this is not a car-related theme. Since if you really want to just build cars, just buy Speed Champions. They make way better cars than any other theme. Also, this theme is expensive. At max, a kid will be able to get 3 or 4 sets a year, since they are already at least over $100. Like, a little kid won't be able to afford one of the big sets, like Ninjago City or anything of the sort. But to be fair, they do release quite a few smaller scale sets that are like $40 each, which is almost 9 times out of 10 are just cars. Which is not good, since I don't think a little kid wants to play with 5 cars at this rate. But now let's talk about some of the main problems of the show itself. Other than the fact that this is probably the longest show LEGO has made, a lot of the show just follows the same formula as the rest of the seasons. Usually, the villains are trying to get free items to be able to become super duper powerful, and usually, the ninja fail at getting the first 2, and when it reaches the 3rd, they barely fail since the villains have become too powerful already and reached their max power. But in the final battle, they barely win. So many seasons that follow this formula, like it is insane. And it really makes it so that the entire show feels a lot less special. As a result, I feel like Ninjago has lost a bit of its charm, since every single season you watch just has the exact same things happen, but just reskinned. Granted, there are some seasons that don't have it like that, like Tournament of Elements back in season 3. But then we have a lot that is like that, like freeing the Chaos Dragons with the Prismatic Blades. It's reached a point that you can almost predict what is going to happen in the show just by watching a very first episode.
I have questions.
A lot of the show just
I'm just decorating this portal gate.
Also, I have another nitpick
you mean
about
the
show,
doll
too.
I left you?
It's
They
to work out
continuously pretend
conflict.
like one of the
If
main
you
characters
have an
is
issue
gonna
with
die,
me,
or
talk to
leave,
the doll
or turn
like
into
it's the
water.
real me.
But none of it actually matters. They always act so sad at the end of the show when something happens. For example, when Nia had to turn into water in Seabound, which is the exact season before Crystallize, they were all so sad and were crying. But not even 5 episodes into Crystallize, she becomes normal again, and they go on as if it's just nothing. Which I think is just insane. And they did this so many times. Like in Dragon's Rising Season 3 with Eren saying that he's going to leave. But they've also done it so many times that I don't even believe it for a fraction of a second. However, I will say that the one time they actually pulled it off really nicely was in the original Tournament of Elements, where they showed that Zane is alive for the entire season and they wanted to go save him. But in basically all other times, it just does not work at all. It really starts to get annoying since you know that none of them are actually going to get hurt at all. And all of them mourning for the characters who are leaving for like 2 episodes feels extremely unwarranted. That's my main nitpick about the show, but let's talk about it budget-wise. Honestly, Ninjago has one of the highest budgets out of any LEGO theme in general. It consistently creates highly specialized minifigure parts and pieces that will only ever be used in 1 or 2 sets. It's honestly a gigantic waste of budget, since there are so many themes out there that could use even a bit more budget to make great sets. Take Marvel, for example. Right now, they have the worst budget I have ever seen. And as a result, they have made a bunch of terrible sets. No shade to the designers. I'm sure they did the best they could of all the limitations. But the sets that came out from the 2016 era was so much better than nowadays. And that's because they had a bit more budget. Like, if Ninjago can share his absolutely monumental budget with some other themes, then it would prove much more profitable for LEGO than they could expect. Because every single year, Ninjago makes more and more specialized minifigure parts, while other themes don't even have the budget to create regular minifigures without charging $20 more. Also, Ninjago needs to really stop holding the spotlight and give it away for more themes. Like, if you ask anybody to name any original LEGO theme that is still in stores to this day, 10 times out of 10, they will say Ninjago. Ninjago has held the spotlight for 15 years, and basically nobody has watched LEGO Dreams or Monkey Kid, and very few people have watched some of the older themes. In fact, I've heard that one of the main reasons they ended LEGO Monkey Kid is that they don't want it to interfere with Ninjago's success, which is terrible because, quite frankly, kids should be able to watch different LEGO shows and be able to buy different sets from them. Ninjago should be replaced with another new IP, and so all of the original themes can get equal love. Nowadays, though, if you go into a LEGO store, you will almost always see the entire Ninjago area basically full. Not nearly as many people will buy Ninjago sets. Like when the Old Town set released, very few people actually bought it at my local LEGO store, but rather a bunch of dreams sold and other themes. I personally think that Ninjago should just end and give space for other themes to grow. But before I end this video, I do want to say that this is all my own opinion, and if you have any other viewpoints, please put it down in the comments, because I think that Ninjago definitely still has fans left, just not as many as beforehand. But that is all for this video. Goodbye.